Welcome to the Women Getting Stupid Rich podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Blosman, and this is Season 1. I believe putting women in leadership roles is not the answer. I believe it's simply a band-aid, a distraction from the real solution. Quantum leap change for women happens when they own wildly successful and profitable businesses, creating thousands of bootstrapping self-made female millionaires and billionaires. This podcast allows you to ride shotgun with me as I launch my new business, Femcanic Tools. I will be documenting my full journey from $0 to the first million with a goal of doing it in 12 months. I will share all of the behind-the-scenes secrets of what works and what doesn't, using 100% of my own money with no day job. On your marks, get set, let's do this. Welcome to the WGSR podcast. I'm your host, Jamie B., and I am excited to dive into the next topic of this 4-part series. So what are we going to be talking about today? Today is all about operational outsourcing, and it's one of the keys to scaling your business fast. So let's jump right into it. The first question I'm often asked is, okay, I get the marble jar concept, Jamie. Now, how do I decide what I actually delegate or outsource? There's all these things. It becomes overwhelming real fast. Then you get into this rabbit hole of, okay, where do I find people? How do I train them? What do I do? So pump the brakes, sister. We'll get there. One step at a time. You can't eat an elephant in one bite. So let's break it down into small, chewable bites. It's a terrible metaphor, but you get what I'm saying. So step 1 in the first focus of this 4-part, well, technically second of the 4-part series, this is really 3 key steps in order to scale your business fast as it relates to the operational and building your marble jar company. So this is the first one. Are you ready? So if you don't have a pen and paper, I recommend you getting a pen and paper. If you are driving, do not get a pen and paper. If you are listening to this and you're working, do not get a pen and paper. However, I would come back to this and go through this exercise. It's a simple exercise, but I'm telling you, it can work magic in getting your mind around the next steps. So let's get right to it. Step 1. The goal of this exercise is to determine which tasks you should actually consider outsourcing and bringing someone onto your team to do. All right. Now, before you go thinking, I can't afford that, I can't do that, hang in there. All right. Because the next episode, I'm going to dive in and probably maybe even blow your mind about how affordable it is to find and bring on good people to your team. All right. So hang in there. Hang on to that thought. We'll get there. I promise you. Step 1, make a list of the tasks you do personally for your business. So you do. I'm not talking about, let's say you have an accountant that does your taxes. That would not be included in there. Let's say you already have some people or a team added. Maybe you're a husband and wife duo. Maybe it's you and your partner, your wife. At the end of the day, this list right here that I'm talking about are the tasks that you personally do for your business. All right. Make it as exhaustive as you possibly can and as detailed as you possibly can. Get down to that to-do list level so that you can get real about everything that you are actually doing for your business. Let me give you some 4 examples. I'm going to use myself. I'll teeter between Women's Motor Fest, Femcanic Tools, Femcanic Garage. So for me, tasks are recording episodes. A task is checking emails. It's responding to social media. It's creating social media posts. Maybe it's issuing a refund. Maybe it's customer service. But really drill down to the details around it. Maybe it's you actually packaging up and shipping products, or it may be the delivery of service. All of those things. Maybe you do some of your web design. Maybe you do some of your web development or updating of your website. All of those things need to be on this list. Try to make it as exhaustive as you possibly can. All right. So that is step one. Where do you go from here? Once you get done with that particular step, what you want to get to next is step two. With that list, all right, so you've created your exhaustive list. You're now looking at that list. The next thing I want you to do is go through your list and put a box around the tasks that only you can do. Now, what would be an example of something like this? Because we tease ourselves or kind of lie to ourselves around what we can actually do or what we have to actually do. What does that mean in an example of that? For example, for me, I'm the only one that can record the Femcanic Garage podcast. I'm the voice and face of the podcast. WGSR, I'm the host of this podcast as well. So that's what I mean by no one else can be me, right? Only I can do that. If I was hired to be on a panel at a conference or do public speaking, I am the only one that can do that, right? However, I am not the only one that can do emails or do social media posts. Other people can do that. Now, the content created for it, if you're the face of your product or service, you have to do that part, but that doesn't mean you have to do the editing. It doesn't mean you have to do the hooks. It doesn't mean you have to do all of the other things. So that's what I mean by put a box around the tasks that only you can do. And quite honestly, there shouldn't be that many. There shouldn't be. So let's not fool ourselves in what can actually be taught to someone else. Next, once you do that and you put a box next to the items that only you can do, draw a line, a single line, a strike through the tasks that you loathe doing, that you cannot stand doing, like you really drag your feet doing it. So that is step two. And really be real with yourself here. What are those things that you're like, oh, I know it needs done, but I really, really don't like doing it. I really don't like doing it. And quite honestly, a lot of times these are the things that you know has to be done, but you are not crazy. It almost kind of makes you fall out of love with your business a little bit. It's those items. So do a strike through those tasks. Next, I want you to put a check mark next to the tasks you do, but you are not an expert at, nor do you want to be an expert at it. So you do them. You're not an expert at them. Maybe you don't mind doing them too much. You don't loathe them, like you don't hate them. Again, the strike through or line through a task, like you really, really have a deep loathe and hate for doing it. All right. Maybe it's finances. I don't know, your business finances. But you need to distinguish between these two. Strike through is loathe and hate. Check mark is, I don't mind doing it. I don't love doing it necessarily, but I really don't mind doing it. I'm not interested in becoming an expert at it. I do want to be knowledgeable on it, and I can and will do it. Those are the check mark items. And finally, put a heart next to the tasks or items that are in your zone of genius, right? This is different than the box, simply because those are tasks that only you can do. But then there's tasks where you feel is your zone of genius, your superpower, all right? Put a heart next to those tasks, right? Now, once you complete those steps, so you've created your list now of an exhaustive list of the tasks you personally do right now in your business. You put a box around the tasks that only you can do. You do a strike through or a line through the tasks that you hate doing. You put a check mark next to the tasks that you don't mind doing, but you're not interested in becoming an expert at it. And then a heart next to the items or tasks that you feel that you're really, that's your zone of genius. That's your gift. All right. Once you complete those 4 steps, let's go to the next evolution of this list for you. And again, the whole key and the whole goal of this exercise is first you must determine what is the most important to bring a team member on for or to outsource. Maybe it's not bringing a team on. Maybe it's outsourcing it. It may be both. All right. You must first determine that, because that'll determine the rest of the steps in this process of building a marble jar company. You first need to determine what they would be doing in order to know who to recruit and how to recruit them. So next in this process, look at the items, the tasks that you drew a line through or a strike through. Look at those tasks. Number these tasks from 1 to 10 on a scale from 1 to 10, put a number next to them, and maybe it's, 1/2 or 3/4, or maybe you just know it's a 5. 1 equaling the most important task as it relates to generating revenue. All right. So number the strike through tasks, the tasks that you did a strike through on or a line through, and number those tasks from a scale 1 to 10. 1 meaning it is directly related to generating revenue. 10 meaning, meh, it really doesn't directly impact revenue. It's something that maybe needs to be done soon, but it doesn't directly impact revenue right now. So those strike through items, put a number next to each one of them on a scale of 1 to 10. The next part of this, put a star next to the items that you could teach someone else how to do the task well. Now, this is for all items on the list. So look at all items on the list. The one that sits outside of that, obviously, is the ones that have the tasks that have boxes around it, because only you can do it. And for now, let's keep the heart items out as well. So the tasks that you have a heart around, keep the heart and the boxes out of this. So that leaves you with the strike through, and that leaves you with the check marked items. Now go through those 2 pieces, the check mark and the strike through ones, and put a star next to the task that you could teach someone to do well. I'm not talking about just teach them for the sake of teaching them. I'm talking about you could teach them to do it just as well as you, if not better, if you had the time to train them, if you took the time to train them. So put a star next to those items or those tasks. Once you complete this exercise, all right, how you determine what tasks you should recruit for or outsource is the strike through that is considered a 1 or 2 on the scale. Those and that, depending on how many of those you have, those are the first roles that you recruit for. Hands down, no questions asked. Now, you need to not only have a 1 or 2 in the strike through, ideally you have a star next to it as well, because you want to be able to teach them. All right. If you're recruiting someone, if you are not recruiting someone, but you are outsourcing, in other words, you're just paying another company to do it, then the star does not matter. But if you are bringing them on as a contractor or an employee, You need to be able to teach them how to do what it is that you want them to do. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. First of all, you go through and you look at the strike-through items that on the scale are considered a 1 or 2. And then if you are bringing the person on as a contractor and employee, you need to have a star next to it as well. Those are the first roles that you recruit for. If you are outsourcing and just paying another company to do it, the star does not matter. However, the strike-through item that is a 1 or 2 still is the first item that you would look at outsourcing if outsourcing is what you want to do. Okay? Those are the tasks that you should outsource or recruit for first. Why are those the tasks that you should outsource or recruit for first? The reason for that is because these are the tasks that you hate or loathe doing. These are the things that end up making you feel overwhelmed because you don't enjoy doing them. They end up taking you a lot longer because either it's not your zone of genius, you hate doing it, it just is not your thing. And ultimately, these are the tasks that oftentimes we get caught up as small business owners and entrepreneurs spending the most of our time doing. A lot of times it's busy work, which then in turn really contributes in a major way to us falling out of love with our business and sometimes even giving up on it. These are the tasks that you need to focus on first so that you can get back into falling even more in love with your business or falling back in love with your business. We as small business owners wait way too long to bring on help for ourselves because we think we can't afford it. And the reality is, I think you can do way more than what you think you can. So make sure you tune in to the next episode, because the next episode, we are going to be diving into the details around where do you find these people to bring onto your team? The where and really how to recruit them. So the next episode, we're going to dive deep into places you go to find these people. And I'm going to be focusing the next episode on finding contractors and or employees, right? I'm not going to be focusing on the outsourcing and finding companies per se, as much as people to build your team. Okay, so this is Jamie B signing off. Are you a femcanic?